gentlemen, I am Stefani. Allow me now to read you an interesting fairy tale. It calls Little Red Riding Hood. Happy listening! Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all by her grandmother. Once, she gave her a little cap of red velvet, which was very suited to her, that she would never wear anything else. So, she was always called Little Red Riding Hood. They call me the little girl in the red hood. They call me that because I always wear a red hood. I like it because I really like the red hood. One day, her mother said to her, "Come here, Little Red Riding Hood. Here is a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. Set out before it gets hot, and when you are going, walk nicely and quietly. And do not run out of the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will get nothing. And when you are going into her room, don't forget to say, 'Good morning,' and don't peep into every corner before you do it." "I will great take care," said Little Red Riding Hood to her mother. Her grandmother is lived out in the wood. Half of language are from the village, and just as she entered the wood, a wolf met her. Little Red Riding Hood did not know what a wicked creature he was, and was not at all afraid of him. "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood." "Thank you, kindly wolf." "Good day, Little Red Riding Hood." Thank you, kindly wolf." "Why are you away so early, Little Red Riding Hood?" To my grandmother." "So, what do you got in your apron?" "What have you got in your apron?" "Oh, cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day, so poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her feel stronger."
"Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Riding Hood?"
"A good quarter of the language farther on in the wood. Her house stands under the 3 large oak trees. The nut trees are just below. You surely must know it." The wolf thought to himself,
"What a tender young creature! What a nice plump mouthful! She will be better to eat than the old woman.
I must act craftily, so as to catch both." So he walked by short time, and then go beside the Little Red Riding Hood. And then he said,
"See, Little Red Riding Hood, how pretty the flowers are about there. Why don't you
"Go out there.
I believed that you do not hear how pretty, how sweet the little birds are singing. You walk gravely along if you are going to school, while everything else out there in the wood is merry. Little Red Riding Hood raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and tree-topped trees, and pretty flowers are growing everywhere, she thought, I suppose to take grandmother a fresh nosegay. That will please her too. It is so early in the day that I shall still get there in a good time. And so she ran from the path into the wood to look for the flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one farther on, and ran after it, and so go deeper and deeper into the wood. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight into the grandmother's house and knocked at the door. Who is there? Little Red Riding Hood. She is bringing cake and wine. Open the door, please.
Lift the latch. I am too weak and cannot get up.
The wolf lifted the latch. The door sprang open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, dressed himself in cap, laid himself in the bed, and drew the curtains. Little Red Riding Hood, however, had been running about picking flowers. And when she gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on the way to her. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself, "Oh dear, how uneasy I feel today. And at the other times, I like being with grandmother so much." And then she called out, "Good morning! Good morning!" But received no answer. So she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled far over her face and looking very strange. "Oh, grandmother, what big ears you have. The better to hear you with my child. But grandmother, what big eyes you have. The better to see you with my dear. But grandmother, what large hands you have. The better to hug you with. Oh, oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have. The better to eat you with." And scarcely had the wolf said this, then with one bound he was out of bed and swallowed up Little Red Riding Hood. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down again in the bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loud. The huntsman was just passing the house and thought to himself, "How the old woman is snoring. I must just see if she wants anything." So he went to the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw that the wolf was lying in it. "Do I find you here, you old sinner?" said he. I have long sought you.
Then, just as he was going to fire at him, it occurred to him that the wolf might have devoured the grandmother, and that she might still be saved. So he did not fire, but took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf. When he made 2 snips, he saw the little Red Riding Hood shining, and then he made 2 snips more, and the little girl sprang out, crying. How frightened I have been! How dark it was inside the wolf! And after that, the aged grandmother came out alive also, but scarcely able to breathe. Little Red Riding Hood, however, quickly fetched great stones, with which they filled the wolf's belly, and when he awoke, he wanted to run away. But the stones were very heavy, that he collapsed at once and fell dead. Then all 3 were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolfskin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank wine which Little Red Riding Hood had brought and revived it. But Little Red Riding Hood is thought to herself, "As long as I live, I will never by myself leave the path to run into the wood where my mother was forbidden me to do so." Okay, so what message did we get from the fairy tale? Don't be a bad wolf. Don't wear a red cap or the red hood. Don't walk in the woods. Yeah, that's all true. But the most important message is that the first is to be careful when meeting strangers. Don't reveal too much information, because people we just know don't necessarily have good intentions. Secondly, keep in mind the advice and message of parents, so as not as good to get hurt. And third is not to be a cunning people. Okay, so yeah, that's the storytelling about Little Girl. Okay, so that's the story about Little Red Riding Hood. It's an interesting fairy tale, isn't it? I really like the story, so I hope you all enjoy this, and thank you for watching this video. Bye bye. See you next time.